staggering things that you might think about is if it's true that something like Jupiter is required to have the Earth form, in the place where it does, not closer than Mercury, not bigger than Jupiter. If it takes having Jupiter form out there, the question you might ask yourself is how many stars in the sky have something like Jupiter? And the answer seems to be something like about 1%. So it's not quite dark enough to look outside at the stars yet, but as you leave here tonight, I want you to look up in the sky. It's a nice dark spot. I think you will probably be able to see around 2,000 stars in the sky. Of those 2,000 stars that you can see, I'll get them to turn all the lights off around here before I go, so it'll be fine. Of those 2,000 stars you can see, I want you to think about that 20 of them have something like Jupiter going around them, which means 20 of them maybe have something like the Earth around them. You might think that's a pretty small number, but you can also think that that's actually an amazing number, that you can look up in the sky and think there are 20 places where a place like the Earth exists, where the conditions might be right to have something like life emerging in these locations. But there's an important question that we haven't addressed yet, which is, just because you have conditions like the Earth has, what are the chances that you have something like life actually develop? If we started the solar system from scratch, would we all be here? Or was it just some really random occurrence that led us to be here? And the answer is, we have no idea. We have one example of a place where life has occurred, and you need to go in from the stars that Constantine was talking about. Let's say that 1% of these things, maybe one on the screen, has an Earth around it, and we really need to dive into the solar system itself and really try to understand how life emerged on the Earth, and whether it's very common, such that there are 20 stars in the sky that actually have the high probability of life, or whether it's very hard, which means there's not much chance that there's anything out there at all. To answer that question, we could start by going to our favorite planet. Everybody's favorite planet? The Earth. There it is, Mercury, Venus, Earth is right here, following along. And so let's look at the Earth and think about the Earth and try to think about how we would understand how life and when life emerged on the Earth. I'm going to show you a timeline. I'm sure all of you took and memorized your geology in college and high school. And you remember? No, okay. So here's a timeline. Today is right here. And 4.5 billion years ago, it's time when Constantine was talking about the solar system forming, Jupiter forming. That's over here. We think that life emerged somewhere right around here. Origin of life is somewhere before 3.5 billion years ago. And so if you want to study the origin of life, you want to look at the chemicals that were there, the environments that were there, you need to go find rocks that are 4 billion years old. There's a big problem with that, which is you can't. The rocks that you look around are really not very old. If you look around here, San Jacinto, anybody know how old the rocks are that make up San Jacinto? It looks like it's this grand peak eroded like crazy. Anybody know? Put me on the spot. No? I told him this. He didn't know before. 100 million years old, right here. That it looks really old. These things right behind us here look super old. A little bit older we can find if you go out to the Joshua Tree and look at those granites that are eroding away, looking like they've been around since the beginning of time. They're about right here. It's where the dinosaurs are, not just Cabazon, they're right here too. And if you try really hard, you can find some older rocks. If you go up to Yucca Valley and you take a left in Yucca Valley and go up to where like Pioneer Town is. Has anybody been to Pioneer Town?
Yeah.
Why? But if you go up there are actually some really old rocks up in there. And actually, do you know the place you can find the oldest rocks that I know of in this area? Anybody know? On the walls over here. There's some just beautiful gneiss. It's actually called gneiss, G-N-E-I-S-S, not N-I-C. There's right here, as you walk out this way, do you guys know this one? There's this whole panel of rock. Right there, I can see it from here. And there's another one at the bar. If you look from the other side of the bar, go check those out on the way out. Those are probably the oldest rocks around. And they're not very old, they're probably right about here. They might be real. So we want to find life by looking way over here, and the answer is you can't really do it. If you look around the Earth, where do you find things that are like even older than 3.6 billion years old? It's these little gray spots on the Earth. There's a few. The famous one, at least to me when I was a kid, I always knew